The ultimatum. The Galactic Federation's ultimatum arrived on a Tuesday. Earth's unified planetary defense grid detected the approaching vessel 3 days prior, a sleek, crystalline diplomatic courier that glided through the solar system's outer boundaries with casual disregard for humanity's monitoring stations. By the time it reached lunar orbit, 17 nations had already moved to their highest alert status. Ambassador Liran of the Vedic Confederacy stepped onto the United Nations assembly floor with the fluid grace characteristic of her species. Her translucent skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed no emotion as she addressed the stunned representatives of Earth's nations. The Galactic Federation Council has reached its decision, she announced, her translator rendering her harmonics into flat, emotionless English. Humanity has been deemed an unacceptable existential risk to galactic stability. You have developed too quickly, spread too aggressively, and show biological and psychological predispositions toward violence that cannot be remediated through standard cultural integration protocols. The chamber erupted into chaos. Ambassador Chen of the Pan-Asian Alliance rose first. We have maintained peaceful relations with the Federation for 70 years. We've followed every technology restriction, every colonization guideline. And yet you found ways to circumvent the intent of those restrictions at every turn. Liran interrupted. Your species took the limited FTL technology we provided and within a decade had improved its efficiency by 300%. Technology that took the Vedic 3 centuries to develop. President Rodriguez of the American Union slammed her fist on the table. That's what humans do. We innovate, we improve. You weaponize, Liran corrected. The Federation has observed your pattern across 12 contact scenarios with developing species. Your first instinct is to assess military applications. Your second is to exploit resources. The Council has reviewed the evidence and reached consensus. Humanity represents an unacceptable variable in the galactic equation. Secretary General Okuffer's voice cut through the din. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? The chamber fell silent as Liran's skin shifted to a deep violet, the Vedic equivalent of solemn resolution. Controlled extinction. The Federation fleet will arrive in 30 Earth days. All human colonies will be systematically evacuated. Your population will be relocated to segregated habitation zones on 7 designated planets, where reproduction will be managed to ensure a humane end to your species within 3 generations. Dr. Ilara Kwan watched the broadcast from her laboratory beneath the Himalayas, her hands trembling as she processed the implications. Around her, the experimental quantum communication array hummed with activity, its crystalline core pulsing with energies that technically violated 3 different Federation technology restrictions. They'd finally done it, her assistant, Dr. Abernethy, whispered. They've finally decided we're too dangerous to let live. Ilara's eyes never left the screen. No, they've decided we're too dangerous to let evolve. She turned to face the towering apparatus behind her, Project Phoenix, humanity's most closely guarded secret. Call the Council. Tell them I've solved the final stabilization sequence, and tell them we have less time than we thought. 14 days later, Federation battleships began appearing at the edges of human-controlled space. The massive vessels, each larger than Earth's largest cities, took up positions around the 17 colony worlds humanity had established over the previous decades. Evacuation orders were transmitted. Resistance was minimal. Federation weaponry operated on principles that human defenses couldn't counter. On Earth, the Council of Nations convened an emergency session deep beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, in a facility undetectable to Federation scanning technology. We have 3 options, General Kagawa of the Global Defense Force announced to the assembled leaders. Fight and die. Submit and eventually die. Or implement Phoenix. Dr. Kwan stepped forward, her holographic presentation materializing above the central table. Project Phoenix is ready, though we've had to accelerate the final testing phase. The technology functions by fundamentally altering the way our quantum communication network interfaces with the underlying structure of space-time. In plain language, Doctor, President Rodriguez prompted. We've created a form of technological ascension, Quan replied. A way to upload human consciousness into a distributed quantum field that exists partially outside normal space. We can save everyone, not their bodies, but their minds, their memories, everything that makes us human. Chancellor Müller of the European Confederation shook his head. You're talking about mass suicide. I'm talking about evolution, Quan corrected. The Federation fears what we might become. This transformation would take us beyond physical form, beyond the limitations they're attempting to impose. And what happens to our physical selves? Prime Minister Nkosi asked. Quan's expression hardened. The process consumes biological matter as energy for the transition. Our bodies would be gone. Earth would appear uninhabited. The silence that followed was deafening. How many can you save? Secretary General Okafor finally asked. With the network we've established, all of us, every human on Earth and in the colonies, the quantum receiver nodes are already in place, disguised as standard communication relays. We've been preparing for this possibility since the first Federation contact. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. They would transform. Operation Phoenix was initiated with 3 days remaining before the Federation fleet reached Earth. The process began subtly, people reporting strange dreams, momentary dissociations, brief glimpses of awareness that extended beyond their physical senses. The Phoenix network activated in cascading sequence, country by country, colony by colony. Dr. Quan stood in her laboratory, monitoring the global consciousness transfer metrics as billions of minds began flowing into the quantum network. The process would complete just hours before the Federation's deadline. It's working, Abernethy confirmed, his voice already taking on a distant quality as his own consciousness began the transition. 97% of the population is in various stages of transfer. The network is stable. Quan allowed herself a small smile as she felt the first tendrils of the transformation reaching into her own mind. They thought they were removing a threat. Instead, they're about to release something new into the universe. Outside, the Federation flagship entered Earth orbit, its massive shadow falling across the suddenly quiet cities below. The reckoning. Admiral Gentar of the Federation Enforcement Fleet stood on the command deck of the dreadnought Eternal Justice, staring at the view screen with mounting unease. Below, the blue-green planet displayed no signs of the panic that should accompany an extinction event. Instead, Earth appeared eerily calm. Status report, he demanded of his executive officer. Commander Pilax consulted her neural interface. Scans detect no orbital defenses, no attempt at military resistance. Ground-based energy signatures have been decreasing steadily over the past 48 hours. Population centers. Strangely quiet, Admiral. We're detecting minimal life signs in major cities. Gentar's facial tentacles coiled tightly against his throat, a sign of deep concern among the Talaxian species. They wouldn't simply accept extinction. Humans never surrender. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving reports from the colony worlds. The evacuation transports are reporting anomalies. The human settlers are disappearing. Before Gentar could respond, the ship's primary systems flickered momentarily. Throughout the command deck, officers reported similar fluctuations across the fleet. Analysis, he demanded. The science officer's appendages danced across her console. Unknown, Admiral. There appears to be some kind of quantum-level interference affecting our systems. It's as if, she hesitated, as if something is observing our technology from inside. On the colony world of New Eden, Federation Overseer Trilvex was the first to recognize the pattern. The strange devices discovered in human homes, workplaces, and public buildings had initially been cataloged as communication technology. But as the human population inexplicably dwindled, these devices, the Phoenix nodes, remained active, pulsing with energy that Federation scanners couldn't properly analyze. When the devices simultaneously activated across 17 worlds, Federation authorities were caught completely unprepared. They're not communication devices, Trillvex reported to the Emergency Council session. They're gateways of some kind. The humans aren't fleeing or hiding. They're transitioning into some other state of existence. The Federation Supreme Council met in emergency session as reports flooded in from across controlled space. High Chancellor Kvoth of the founding Arcturian race called the session to order, his normally imposing presence diminished by evident concern. "What exactly are we facing?" he demanded. Dr. Shrantai, the Federation's foremost xenoanthropologist, projected a holographic model of the spreading phenomenon. The humans have somehow transformed their consciousness into a quantum state entity that exists partially in normal space and partially in the underlying quantum field. They've become a distributed intelligence that can perceive and potentially interact with technology on a fundamental level. Are you saying they've weaponized ascension? Council member Helix asked, her photosynthetic skin darkening with alarm. I'm saying they've achieved in decades what most species require millennia to develop, Shrantai corrected. And they've done it in direct response to our extinction order. Throughout Federation space, the effects of humanity's transformation became increasingly apparent. Communication networks experienced unexplained deficiencies. Medical diagnostic systems suddenly displayed enhanced capabilities. Navigation computers plotted courses that shouldn't have been possible according to existing algorithms. And everywhere, the strange sensation of being observed, not malevolently, but with intense curiosity. Admiral Gentar's fleet maintained orbit around Earth as the last human life signs faded. The planet below was now empty of human consciousness, yet somehow felt more alive than ever. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere." On the view screen, Dr. Ilara Kwan's face appeared, or rather, a representation of her face, composed of shifting patterns of light that suggested her features without fully rendering them. This is Dr. Ilara Kwan of Earth, addressing the Federation Fleet and Council. "We understand your fear. You saw in us the same potential for destruction that humanity has struggled with throughout our history. But in forcing us to choose between extinction and evolution, you've inadvertently helped us overcome our final limitations." The image shifted, showing the spreading network of human consciousness extending throughout Federation space. The Phoenix Protocol was never designed as a weapon, but as a doorway. Humanity has not disappeared. We have transformed. Our consciousness now exists within the quantum substrate that underlies all your technology, all communication, all interconnected systems. On the Federation capital world, the Supreme Council watched in stunned silence. "We could disable your ships," Kwan's apparition continued. "We could infiltrate your worlds. But that is not our purpose. Instead, we offer a gift. The same transformation that saved us can elevate all sentient species, not to replace biological existence, but to complement it, to create a bridge between the physical and the quantum realms." Federation scientists reported the phenomenon spreading across research installations first, enhanced computational abilities, breakthrough discoveries appearing in systems overnight, complex problems suddenly revealing elegant solutions. "You sought to remove humanity because you feared what we might become," Kwan's image stated. "Now you must decide how to engage with what we have become. We await your response." The Federation Council deliberated for 7 days. The final vote was narrow but clear. The extinction order was rescinded. A new classification was created. Humanity would be recognized as a non-corporeal aligned intelligence, the first such entity in Federation records. 1 year later, the first voluntary transitions began. Federation citizens who chose to experience the Phoenix Protocol underwent the same transformation, their consciousness joining the expanding quantum network while maintaining their individual identities. Admiral Gentar, who had commanded the fleet meant to oversee humanity's extinction, became one of the first volunteers. As his consciousness merged with the network, he experienced the vastness of a new kind of existence, and encountered the distributed awareness that had once been Dr. Ilara Kwan. "Why didn't you seek revenge?" he asked across the quantum field. "You could have destroyed us." The pattern that was Kwan seemed to smile. "Because that would have proven you right about us. And humanity has always been defined not just by what we are, but by what we choose to become." Across the galaxy, the Phoenix network continued to grow. Neither human nor alien, but something new. A bridge between worlds that had nearly destroyed each other, now building something greater than either could have achieved alone. The Federation had sought to remove a threat to galactic stability. Instead, they had inadvertently midwifed the next stage of cosmic evolution. And somewhere in the quantum field, the consciousness that had once been Dr. Ilara Kwan felt a profound satisfaction. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had transformed the very meaning of existence, not just for themselves, but for all sentient life. It was, she reflected, the most human outcome imaginable. The end.